Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us on this fairly wintry day in November. We're so pleased to have so many of you with us. It's an absolute delight to be opening this education conference, just focusing on where next for music education. And we're going to be looking at different aspects over the next few hours, going right across the whole of the United Kingdom to find out what's going on, what we can learn in different parts of the UK, and the big challenges which are facing music education. It's really interesting for the ISM to be hosting this conference back end of November this year. About the same time last year, we held the Empowered Musician, which was the first of our three big online conferences during the pandemic. And we were a bit worried because the conference literally was at the start of Christmas shopping just after lockdown in December. And we were worried that people wouldn't attend, but in fact, over 800 people did. So please do stay with us today. Get yourself a cup of tea or coffee because it's horrible weather outside. So you might as well be with the ISM enjoying this conference. The big thing that we would like you to do just at the very start is to answer the Slido poll about your work in music. Let us know whether you are a classroom teacher, early years teacher, Peri, VMT, private teacher, music administrator, or what other work you do in music. We really would like to know because that helps us with our own policy formulation. We have fantastic contributors throughout the day. We start with Mark Phillips' keynote, which I'm really looking forward to. Mark is wonderfully incisive and robust in his analysis. And he tells me that he's got some really interesting things to share with us. So I'm looking forward to that tremendously. Our next session will be early years, which often can get forgotten by government. And so it will be fantastic to actually dig into early years and what are the key things going on then. Then we come to whether there is a future for music education in England, which is deliberately provocative. I'm sure some of you will say, yes, of course, there is a future for music education. But it has been pretty rocky over the last few years for various reasons. And there's also a conversation going on outside music about what education should look like. And that's a really important conversation for music teachers to be aware of. And I'm delighted that we've got such a star-studded cast for that panel who will be taking us through the various aspects. After lunch, we dig into the devolved nations. And that again is looking really, really exciting. We have with us, just to pick out one highlight in terms of a contributor, John Wallace, who has literally just been awarded the Queen's Medal for Music. So welcome to all of our friends from across the United Kingdom. In our last session, we focus in on knowing your legal rights. ISM has an amazing in-house legal team. Last count, we had 4 in-house legal advisors and 2 external advisors who work with us on copyright. Those legal advisors get through about 2,000 cases a year, if you can imagine it. Nearly always something to do with an employment type situation. It could be unpaid fees, it could be a contract going wrong, it could be something to do with a disciplinary, a grievance, a redundancy, discrimination. And Stuart and Neris are going to be sharing with you exactly what your rights are, and you can ask them questions about your own particular situation. Throughout the day, of course, we will be sharing with you some fantastic music making from young people, and we'll be hearing from Triborough Hub at lunchtime. I have to say, I am really missing the face-to-face Triborough Hub Christmas concert, which I always go to, but I will be tuning into their online Christmas concert. So please, please, please do answer the poll on Slido and do use the social media hashtag, which is hashtag UK Music Ed. Hopefully you can see it up there on the slide. It's got various capital letters in it, which always slightly confuse me, but do make use of it. And if you have any technical problems, just email events@ism.org. So I'm now just going to share with you a few thoughts, really, that come from the work of the ISM and what we have seen going on over the last few years. As many of you know, ever since the EBAC started, which is now quite a few years ago, we have been calling for its reform because of the unintended consequences that it has in terms of access to music education in our secondary schools. And when you look at arts take-up at GCSE, from 2014 to 2021, there has been a dramatic fall. And indeed, music has gone down by 17%. Now, some people say, why worry about that? You know, it's GCSE, why worry about it? Well, music GCSE is a bit like the canary in the mine. It's an early warning system of things going wrong in terms of access to music. And if music GCSE disappears, then there is a greater risk to music throughout the rest of the school. And of course, we all know that A-level music is almost like an endangered species now. So there are things that we need to be thinking about and advocating for in relation to music in our schools. We believe that there needs to be a more diverse approach to education generally, rather than just knowledge-rich curriculum. Of course, knowledge is really important, but we also need sound problem-solving skills, the ability to think analytically, take apart assertions and assumptions. All of that stuff is so important, not just in education, but in life generally. It's something which is absolutely key in our working lives. So we believe Progress 8 needs a big overhaul and it needs to become Progress 5. That will still allow a focus on maths and English and science, but it will allow much greater flexibility. And as a result, we believe that that would open up massively access to music GCSE. That would be good for students, but it would also be really, really good for music teachers who would feel, we believe, more valued. That would be such a positive signal from government. Now, the ISM has been carrying out a huge amount of research. One of the things we pride ourselves on is our primary research. And that research covers all kinds of things. At the moment, we have 2 pieces of surveys out. One of them is focusing on Brexit, which is a whole other matter, which I will not go into. And the other one is music education. And that survey is open until the 1st of January. It is for all music educators. So please, please, please do answer it. And we will be using that in our conversations with the Department for Education. One of the pieces of research we did was in connection with the Brazell case. Now, Leslie Brazell is an ISM member, and we have been supporting her in her claims against Harper Trust regarding the calculation of holiday pay since 2013. That case finally made it to the highest court in the land a couple of weeks ago, and we are now waiting for the decision. It has huge implications for music teachers and indeed other types of workers who are on 0-hour contracts. So do watch out for that decision, because it will have implications in relation to the calculation of holiday pay. Another piece of research we undertook was The Heart of the School is Missing, which looked at what was happening to music during the pandemic. And not surprisingly, we found that music had disappeared, in some cases entirely, from our primary schools, which was very, very concerning. And Kevin Rogers later on is going to be picking up this theme. And when I asked our legal team what were the trends they were seeing, they said that the big issue for music teachers is status more than anything else. So many teachers are on 0-hour contracts. Sometimes they're freelance. Sometimes their employer makes out that they're freelance when actually they're employed. Also, music teachers tend to be bottom of the pile when it comes to getting access to decent facilities and room allocation in schools. And they can be left to teach without ventilation, which obviously is very concerning these days. So there is a feeling that music is always last in the queue. That's what we hear from our members when we are addressing their particular legal concerns. When we did a piece of research back in July, we found that 0-hour contracts was the normal state of play for VMTs and Peris. Most people who were working as a VMT or Peri were on a 0-hour contract. Now, of course, that is incredibly insecure, and it has implications in relation to career development, professional development, etc. It is actually quite a tricky form of employment. We also learnt from that piece of research that 2/3 of Peris earn less than £20,000 per year. And that in itself is a concern. So I think there's a real issue here around professionalisation. Lastly, I just want to touch on the National Plan for Music Education, which I'm sure we will be going into in more depth. Obviously, at the moment, it is going through revision. We have said to the Department for Education, it is really, really important that the refreshed National Plan for Music Education comes out for consultation with the workforce. We simply do not believe that it's a great idea to come up with a new plan, which could be quite fundamentally changed for all I know, and then just dump it on the workforce for it to be implemented. We need proper consultation. And that is one of the reasons why we are conducting this survey at the moment, because we absolutely think that if the DfE will not do the consultation, ISM will do the consultation, and we will then take the results of that piece of work back to the Department for Education. So please, please, please do fill it in. As I said, it is absolutely jam-packed today, really, really exciting. Do make sure that you stay with us all the way through the day. Don't go and get a cup of tea just yet. Wait until Mark Phillips has finished his brilliant keynote speech, which is coming up any minute now. Mark Phillips, as you know, is the Ofsted National Lead for Music. He's an absolutely fantastic advocate for everything music teachers do. So I am absolutely thrilled and delighted that he is with us today. Thank you.
Thank you